Hello Wolfpack, I'm very excited to get into the Bitcoin analysis today because we've had a rejection from a very important line as expected, getting the predictions on point recently, and this is another successful prediction as far as I'm concerned. Although it's a short-term move, it is pretty much, destined to be a rejection at this point. I mean, what we can see here, zooming into the hourly chart, is actually rejecting off this blue line that we talked about and the red line on two separate occasions, forming a descending wedge formation. I had a little bit of uncertainty this morning on Twitter about that descending wedge formation, but my prediction still held true, and we've actually dropped below this descending wedge formation now, in event also dropping below the second blue line or the third blue line on the downside as well. So pretty big thing there for Bitcoin. I mean, we drop below a descending wedge formation. You don't really get that much more bearish from that. That's typically a bullish formation. When you drop below something like that, it means there's something fundamentally wrong with the move upwards. And we've identified what that is. What is it? Well, the lack of volume is one of the key components of it. I mean, on the initial move upwards, what we saw was, moving up volume and moving up price. When your volume moves up with the price, it means that the move is being strengthened consecutively day by day. When the volume moves down and the price continues moving up, it means the move is getting weaker, less momentum, less people are willing to buy at higher prices. And we saw descending volume for the last 4 days of the move, which led to a rejection off of 42.5k and off of one of the last blue lines there. Let me fix this up quickly. There we go. So that's a weak move, and we kind of expected that to be happening there. Now we've seen a red candle with pretty low volume, and that usually happens on a trend reversal. And then what I would expect now is this downwards move continuing and the volume increasing as the downwards move strengthens until we reach a support zone such as, say, 38k, right? And that, I think 38.5k would be an interesting place for us to see where the next move will be. And obviously, I think we'll drop below that as well, but that would be the zone in which we'd be looking for a bounce on Bitcoin. But the more immediate zone, that's kind of a bit of a longer term zone within about a week, the more immediate zone we'd be looking at is between 39.5k and between 40k. And we've already kind of hit that 40k zone. But this is the immediate support. This is the first up support we have on Bitcoin here. And this very well could lead to a bounce, right? And there's no denying that. Why is that? Well, let's just make this green and then we can talk about it. First and foremost, we've held this for support on multiple occasions. This is going back earlier into 2021 and 2020, not just this year as well, but on just this year, it's acted as resistance on multiple occasions, acted as support, resistance, support, right? So this is a pretty big point of contention here on the 4-hourly chart and on the daily chart as well, between 39.5k and 40.5k. We've already almost reached that. That would be the first point in which I think there'll be some struggling between the bears and the bulls, but ultimately, I think we're going to drop below that. And I think that even if we bounce, here's the risk, right? Here's why it's bearish in my opinion. We might come down, and then even if we bounce, we have the chance of forming a head and shoulders formation, which would target a downwards move of around that size, so probably to around 38k anyway. So yeah, I think it's bearish. I think Bitcoin is very well bearish now. I don't think this zone is going to hold. I think we're going to 38.5k within the next week, or probably even the next few days. It's really not that far away here on Bitcoin. And one of the reasons we saw this rejection, as well as the volume being quite abysmal, and the fact that that's a very strong resistance zone, is also because, and this is a bit of a messy chart, but I'll look at that in a second, is also because, and we'll actually flick over to the daily chart on the 4-hourly here, and we can take a look at one of the reasons there, and that would be the 100 SMA. Okay, so let me get that up right now. This is the 100 SMA. We'll change the color to bright blue, and we'll change the size of the line so you guys can see it quite clearly there. That is the 100 SMA. That is a bouncing zone at the moment. That's a 9. And then if we flip over to the 100, so we're kind of on the 9 SMA, which is very, very, small bouncing zone. But if we flip over to the 100, what we can see is a clear rejection there. Okay, a clear rejection. We came right up to that. Wick straight off of it, formed a bearish engulfing candle. Now we're heading downwards towards support. Again, I don't think the support's going to hold. I think we're targeting 38.5k, and that would be valid based off that rejection, right? That's a pretty significant rejection. This is a very interesting support line. And for those of you who say, oh, well, it's just a random SMA you've just grabbed out of thin air to make it look like a rejected. Well, that's simply not the case. I mean, this held for support in September. That was one of the main reasons why I was bullish in September. It held for support before we dropped here in November as well. And it's led to a rejection on the last move as well. So this isn't the first time we've seen it act as a rejection. We've actually seen it act as a rejection just like less than a month ago, almost 3 weeks ago. And we rejected down massively from 45k all the way down to 37k. So to say we can't reject from 42 to 38, it's a bit ridiculous. Yeah, we certainly can. And, going back in time, this is a very important SMA as well, particularly here in the April bottom. We actually held that for support before bouncing and seeing in our altcoin season, and then we dropped below. So pretty interesting support line, pretty interesting rejection. We did look at the 100 a few days ago, and we said, hey, this is a big challenge to get over, and we haven't been able to get over it. So that's interesting to see as well. But now what I want to look at, since we've kind of established the short-term direction, obviously I think it's going to go down to 38.5. I want to look at the longer-term direction. Why are we in this consolidation pattern for so long? Why have we been here for so long doing nothing? Well, in order to answer that, we have to answer first, when is it going to end? And one of the things we can do to answer that is look at the daily chart and look at the RSI triangle on the daily chart. Now, we are due to break out of this pattern on the price chart before the end of March, which is basically within the next week or so. All right, so not much time left in this consolidation pattern, and we'll make a breakout in the RSI, which will lead to a breakout in the price. Now, the price is being rejected purely, and the way I see it, roughly between the 50 EMA and the 100 EMA on the weekly chart. If you look at these two lines here, right, the 100 being the blue, the 50 being the red, these things are compressing the price quite heavily, right? And that's not going to happen forever. That's going to lead to a breakout. How do we know that? Well, Bollinger Bands have started tightening on the weekly chart. When you see Bollinger Bands tighten on the weekly chart, it means a move is coming. Now, it's hard to say exactly when, but we kind of can narrow it down looking at the RSI, right? We're using multi-time frame analysis to try and get an indication of when this move will happen. And using the RSI, using the weekly chart, we can see it's going to happen before April, essentially. This week, sometime in the early phases of next week. That's when the move's going to happen. The big move out of this triangular formation on Bitcoin below 38.5k or above 45k. That's what's happening here on Bitcoin. So it's going to happen quite soon. Compression on Bollinger Bands, compression between the 50 and the 100 EMA. And then also if we're looking at something like, for example, the Ichimoku cloud, that's held a support for a while. We've actually been in the cloud for a while. Usually when you see yourself in the cloud, you generally go through the cloud. So although you could say this is bullish, we're holding it for support, that's not generally what happens. You don't generally bounce off the Ichimoku cloud. It happens, of course it happens, and it's pretty bullish if it does happen. But if you enter the cloud, you're most likely going to go through the cloud. So we have entered the cloud now. We've closed, within the cloud for like 2 months straight. And so, yeah, most likely we go through the cloud, in my personal opinion. And then we're looking at bull market support band. That's just acting as an extra compression zone, right? It's compressing the price downwards, and this is the triangle support line, and eventually we're going to have to break. In my opinion, that break's going to be downwards. Where do I think Bitcoin's going to go? Well, if you've watched any of my content in the past, you would know, and I've been saying this since around 63 to 58k. I think I finalized the prediction at 58k, but I've been advocating selling since 63 or 66. You would know that I think Bitcoin's going to go downwards towards the 200-week SMA. When's it going to get there? Before November. Before December, because November is the most likely target, in my opinion. So pretty bearish on Bitcoin right now. Not really too much redeeming qualities to look at here. And if we're looking at something like the total cryptocurrency market cap, we can see that the Bitcoin rejection off of the 100 and off of almost the top of the triangle, or the middle of the triangle, I should say, at 42.5k, kind of happened in conjunction with a rejection of a total cryptocurrency market cap from close to the top of the triangle here. And when we're looking at total cryptocurrency market cap, what we have to know is that when you head downwards towards a symmetrical triangle formation, that's called a bearish pennant, right? And bearish pennants basically mean you take a flagpole from top to bottom and you apply it to the breakout point. And you can see that this is looking pretty bearish. Do I think it's going to go all the way down to 200 billion? No, I don't. But the point is the direction is very strongly downwards. And yeah, I think it's going to break to the downside. Bitcoin has corrected 50%, and the total cryptocurrency market cap is still holding up trending support. So, there's no reason why that should be holding. We're going to be correcting the downside. Bitcoin's going to go to 30k, within the next couple of months here. And the total cryptocurrency market cap is going to go to about 1.2, 1.3 trillion. That's what's going to happen in the next few months. For sure, I don't see how that couldn't happen. Obviously, I have an invalidation point, and I've been willing to say this for months and months and months. My invalidation point is if Bitcoin manages to close a weekly candle above the 50-week SMA, which is this red line, I'll be bullish again on Bitcoin, all right? But I don't see that happening at this point in time. I don't think it's going to get there. I think we're going to break below. I think the market has lost way too much momentum for us to just flip back into a bull market. And if it did, I don't really know how much I would trust it, because that would break the 4-year cycle theory. But, by default, I'd have to be bullish, right? Because above the 50-week, it's a bull market by default. But yeah, looking at Bitcoin in the short term, We've seen a rejection. We saw that low volume lead to a breakdown. We've currently broken down even further, and we're due for a massive breakout, either up or down, before April. And so this is just progressing quite nicely according to the prediction. And yeah, I think that, this was probably one of the last times we will, within the next few weeks will be one of the last times we see Bitcoin above 40K for, at least 9 months, 9 or 10 months. So I guess thanks for watching, guys. Maybe more than that, actually, maybe a year, not to be super bearish. But if Bitcoin's going to go to the 200-week SMA, which is down here at, at the moment 20K, by the time we get there, maybe 24K, it's going to get there, if we had to guess, November, earlier possibly, then, November's already 9 months or 8 months away. And so for us to go from 24K to 40K would probably take at least another, 3 to 4, maybe 5 months. And that's if it happens, right? We could just see an extended bear market. So yeah, I think that this will be one of the last times we see Bitcoin above 40K for potentially even the next, 10 months, 12 months. So, that sucks to say, I don't want to see Bitcoin go down. I would love for Bitcoin to break upwards, and I hope I'm wrong. But, that's just what I'm seeing at this point in time. Doesn't look too good to me. So let's see what happens here on Bitcoin. Thanks for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll catch you in the next one. Cheers.